I'm Sarah Meadows and I am the director of Ride. I remember sitting in a tech in the dark for another show and getting the book and some of the music through, and on the breaks putting my headphones in and having a look at this text. And I just remember being so taken with the music, which is always a good start, and also just really captivated by the story of this woman doing something exceptional. And I'm often, as a director, given things that are of historical characters, and I'm always wondering why we're doing it and questioning it. And with this, it just felt like a no-brainer, and it just felt like such a contemporary story. It all started with two different lists. There's always a lists that involve lots of questions often. But the two lists I had were, for me, the beginnings of what I needed to do story-wise. So those were a list of the different stories that Jack and Freya had put within this piece, because there wasn't just the story of Annie cycling around the world. There was the story of Annie and Martha's relationship. There was a story of Celine and Annie. There was a story of Fred and Annie. There was the story of Martha and Annie's growing relationship. There was so many themes and narratives that I could see in it. And I think that kind of inspired this feeling that we needed to blow the world open and we needed to do something quite big as a gesture. My second list was the feelings we needed to have and the sort of, so like the movement of the piece, as well as the kind of very true things we needed to do. And I would go to the designer Amy with those provocations basically, and we'd sit and I'd say, right, we have to take them around the world. How do we take them around the world? We have to do this, we have to do that. How do we do that? And that kind of really blew open how we represent, especially going around the world, this huge journey, and her kind of imagination and creativity through that. And that was kind of what inspired things like having the map in the office that then became like the sort of porthole for the whole thing to blow up, and the space to kind of crack open as we kind of get further into the journey and further into memory. For me, it's always about a really exciting collaboration with the designer as a first port of call, really. Obviously working with the writers, but in terms of making the production, I just have loads of chats and both kind of really focused and also really free conversations. And we do page turn, we do a series of meetings to kind of understand the kind of world that we want, with me kind of leading on what I think the overall concept needs to be. And then, designers are amazing and their brains just do incredible things and go and start to build a world for you. And then we back and forth, and I come with really boring practical questions about like, well, I need them to be doing this here, and then we go on, and it just is ongoing right up until your final preview, where we're still having those design conversations about how we're storytelling in the space, and how we are building this world. Yeah, it's been on a real journey. The overall word I would use to describe the journey of it is just real, genuine growth from every single aspect. But it feels that we've from our first instincts, we're still true to that. But it's just been this great process of enabling the book, the music, the lyrics, the design, the kind of overall storytelling to just grow and develop. And really, for me, I always felt like this show was bigger than it was able to be. So to be honest, this show we're made now in San Diego feels like the show. I feel like we're still always chasing the dragon, and there's always stuff, and we're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if, but I feel like we've reached the kind of purest version of this show, and the kind of the version that I think best supports what was written. And that feels really, really magical. I think a fun fact about Ride is that, like, if you could see what the stage management are doing behind the scenes, you would give those people an Oscar, because they are like the other characters on stage, and it's kind of hilarious the things they have to do to make moments work. One being in the original production, which is now done by projection, thankfully, we had to have an ASM with a torch, like with a shaky hand, trying not to be shaky, following the path of Annie Londonderry across the map. And it was very funny, and I would have to give notes to that ASM about shaky hand, or like, you went too far into Asia, you needed to go. So yeah, fun fact, it was very manual, but now we're digital, so